Welcome to another episode of Boom or Bust, your home for NFL Draft Talk. I'm your host, Terry, and today I need the Giants fans to get in here. Come on, get in here, Giants fans. Huddle up. Let's talk about this Daniel Jones thing. First off, let me just say, been doing this for a while, and I'm not here to tell you that my opinion is 100% fact. Of course, I have misses just like everybody else. Just like everybody on TV that's screaming about Daniel Jones, they got misses too. If people say, hey, I want to listen to the guy on the TV or the guy writing the article, cool, that's fine with me. I understand that. But at the end of the day, they've been wrong about a lot of players, just like everybody else. Nobody has a 100% track record in the media. Nobody in NFL teams has a 100% track record. Otherwise, they would have perfect drafts and no busts ever. That's not how it works. The draft is a crapshoot. And the reason is because a lot of factors go into a player succeeding. It's not just how good they are. And so with all that being said, I take issue with a lot of these people bashing the Giants pick for Daniel Jones. And again, Daniel Jones was my number one quarterback for this year. So I'm not here to say, oh, listen to me, Giants fans, I'm going to give you hope. I'm going to just tell you what I think. My issue number one, though, before I even get to that, is that people are bashing the Giants because they want to bash David Gettleman because he traded OBJ and all this other stuff. So now they're just trying to make it the media spin to, make fun of him. That's the cool thing. Whatever. My thing is you're bashing them for taking Daniel Jones instead of Haskins. And last time I checked, Haskins went number 15. It's not like Haskins went the pick after or that somebody was massively trading up to go get him. No, he fell or he went down to 15, which is roughly around where I would have had him. But even still, they're making it seem as if there was some huge push to get Haskins. And then Drew Lock didn't even go in the first round. So while they're making these crazy comparisons like, whoa, you could have had this quarterback, it's not like those quarterbacks went right after. And so, similar to the situation with Aaron Rodgers. Now we know how history played itself, but at the time it's just like, yeah, Aaron Rodgers or Alex Smith. They took Alex Smith and then Aaron Rodgers fell. And so it was like, hey, it's a toss up between these two. But neither one of them have that value as the number one pick, but this is the route we want to go. And if they had such value as a number one pick, then Aaron Rodgers would have got picked up way before he dropped into the 20s. Somebody would have made the move to go get him. The fact is he didn't have that value. Same thing with Haskins. Haskins went down to 15 because he didn't have that value. So as far as draft winning and losing, that's all BS. You can't grade or win a draft the night of. The only thing you can talk about is value as far as getting a player where you got him versus where he was valued at and your moves to get that player. That's fine. But as far as what the player's actually going to be, that won't come until you see 3 years down the line what they do on the field. That's number one, that you do not know what's going to happen with that player. So people talking as if they know, that's what irks me in this whole thing about Haskins. That irks me too. Nobody knows right now. Now, as far as people's opinions and backing that up, that's fine. I'm fine with that. We always have our different favorites and whatnot. Now, as far as why I like Daniel Jones, let's go into that. He was the number one quarterback to me easily. And there's always years or every year there's players where I'm like, what? I don't understand at all why people are valuing that player. And then there's players where I'm like, I don't understand at all why people aren't valuing that player the way I am. That's just how it goes. For me, Daniel Jones has all the things you want out of a quarterback except a level 5 arm. And I grade him out of 5. So if you watch my videos, and I grade him out of 5. So that's the only thing he doesn't have. Now you're talking about reading progression. You're talking about eyes. You're talking about pocket manipulation, awareness. You're talking about even the speed to run and pick up first downs, accuracy. he's got the full package. There's a reason the Manning family and the coach that coached the Mannings has such a connection talking about him. The man has those intangibles. And so I hear some of the scouts or, the draft people saying like all these negatives, and fine. Again, we see it differently. I don't see it. To me, you're talking about a guy that throws with anticipation, incredible anticipation. So some people are like, well, he's not driving the ball. That doesn't matter. And it absolutely kills me how many different times people fall in love with bigger arm quarterbacks. It's like, yes, they can drive the ball, in different platforms and different situations. But if you don't process where to throw with the ball, or you don't have any accuracy to go along with that power to drive it, then it doesn't matter. And the opposite side is that if you process fast enough and you put the ball where it needs to be, then it doesn't matter how fast the ball gets there. Now, if you're throwing late, then yes, that gets picked off. That becomes a problem. But when you have a quarterback that's throwing on time or ahead of time, that's when you got great quarterbacks. And so I hate to bring him up as this type of pressure, but Tom Brady is that way. And even to the extent of Peyton Manning, like they were never big arm quarterbacks. Even the Drew Brees, like they're not big arm quarterbacks. And don't get that confused with throwing the ball down the field. I'm talking about driving the ball with velocity. That was never their game. And so Daniel Jones doesn't have that like a Haskins does. And arguably to me, Drew Lock and these other guys don't have that either. Haskins is the biggest arm here, and his isn't that big, compared to like a Mahomes or some of the other guys we had in a few years. But anyway, Daniel Jones doesn't have that 5 arm, but he has everything else, and he reads it well. And you're talking about a guy that played at Duke, where they're not producing a bunch of NFL talent, and he still made his receivers look good, and he still made his line look good. Like he got hit, he was under a lot of pressure, but the man can maneuver in the pocket and he can deliver a throw without getting hit. I would challenge people to watch the games and not just the highlights. Watch the tough plays. The man has serious competitive juice. He has serious football IQ, and he's a competitor. And so when you're talking about Haskins, because that's what this is all about, why didn't they take Haskins? Haskins to me isn't that great of a prospect. And every year quarterbacks get pushed up. Quarterbacks most of the time aren't even worth where they get drafted. But he's an okay prospect to me. He's nowhere near the level that people are talking about. Cause he lacks pretty much everything Daniel Jones has, which is the ability to read quickly. You look at Ohio State, they ran a lot of crossing routes, a lot of catch and run type concepts in which he just had to get the ball to the athlete. Yes, he could make some big throws down the field, but as far as his ability to process coverage is not even close. And a good way to know that a quarterback is processing coverage is by the throws they make with anticipation. When they put the ball where the receiver is about to be because they know it's not into coverage. Those are the throws that you see Daniel Jones consistently make, and you never really see with Haskins. The other thing is feet. Tying your feet to your eyes and to your arm, that is paramount for good quarterback play. You gotta be able to protect the ball, move your feet in the pocket, deliver a throw. Haskins rarely had a bad pocket. That's kind of the thing of playing at Ohio State against lower competition. But even when he did have a bad pocket, you could see he's not good at moving in the pocket as far as knowing where to go. And when he does have to move, his accuracy drops tremendously. And that's not the case with Daniel Jones for me. To me, Daniel Jones can redirect. He can move in the pocket and still deliver the throw with the same accuracy. I don't think I've seen Haskins have to do that, and I don't think I've seen him do it at all. And so, and even Daniel Jones is more mobile than Haskins as well too. So really, to me, that's fine. Look, I get into these moments where I see a prospect. I'm like, yes, checks every box. That's my number one guy. And nobody really agrees with me. That happens year after year. There's always players like that. So I'm not mad about that people aren't with me on Daniel Jones. What I'm upset about is that people get to the point where they talk like it's a fact. They talk like, oh, well, it's a fact that this person is this and that. If anybody can guarantee what a player is going to be, then teams will be drafting very differently. But this isn't Madden. You don't get to unlock that overall. You don't know until you get them on the field. All you can do is do your homework and do your best guess. So, is Haskins going to be better? Who knows? And it's always hard to compare quarterbacks anyway because they play with two different teams, two different coaches, two different offensive lines and skill positions, all that. I always say the same thing. The only way to truly compare a quarterback versus a quarterback is if they played on the same team. And so you can't really do that. So who's going to have the best career? We don't know. A lot of factors go into that. Could Haskins develop into all the potential that he has? Yes, he could, because make no doubt he has probably higher potential. But can Daniel Jones use his high floor to be very productive right now? Yes. And could he be better? Yes. I mean, I don't get this whole thing about potential. It's like, okay, well, he's got all these skills right now and he's not going to get much better from here. And so he'll never be a Hall of Fame. Like, what are you talking about? Like, that's not true at all. Being a Hall of Fame isn't about, checking off boxes on your skills. It's about producing. And so who cares if he doesn't add any tools? He has a lot of tools right now, and he has the tools that matter when it comes to playing the position. And so if Daniel Jones goes out there and produces, he can produce. And so who cares if he will never have the arm that Haskins will? Whatever. I mean, and again, this is a thing. It's the NFL. Like, you could sit here and poo-poo anybody's draft pick. Like, why didn't they take this person? This person was available. It's like you take the player you're comfortable with. There's a lot of players in the first 2 rounds that I'm like, why did they get drafted in the first 2 rounds? But the teams felt comfortable with it. And so in the game of the draft, this isn't some crazy thing that the Giants just did. So let's start there. And then in terms of Haskins and Daniel Jones, again, Haskins went 15. He wasn't like, fought over to be the number 1 pick. It's not like the Giants had the number 1 pick and passed over Kyler Murray. That might have been a different conversation. Even still, I like Daniel Jones better, but still, that might have been a different conversation. But that's not what happened. And so that whole situation needs to be killed. And then as far as talking about Daniel Jones, he has plenty of juice to be a top rated quarterback in the NFL. So definitely don't worry about that, at least from my opinion. So I'm not going to sit here again. I'm not guarantee you anything, any of that. I'm just saying there's logic behind the pick the Giants made, despite the media trying to have some type of blitz storm against the Giants right now. So anyway, go to comment section. Let me know what you think, or if you got questions about Daniel Jones, Haskins, all that good stuff. Share it around, get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe, and thank you for listening.